Hello, everyone. Hopefully, you can hear me. Because again, I don't know what the deal is. Whenever I hook, right now I have my camera hooked up to a mount in my car. But when I do try to do videos in my apartment, I have it on a tripod stand. And for some reason, sometimes you can hear me, sometimes you can't on those things. But welcome to another how to drive a stick shift video. This is lesson 14, I believe. Last time I said, I believe this is lesson 12. In all reality, it was lesson 13. This is lesson 14. And hopefully I can make this close to an hour long, if not longer. Depends on how long, I guess, my phone's storage lasts. I don't know. But without further ado, see, the parking brake's up. It's not in gear. Now it is first, second, third, fourth, fifth, reverse. Before you start driving a stick, I recommend getting used to this, getting used to moving around like this. You know, finding the bite point on the clutch. When I say bite point, I've said it in previous videos. That's the point in which when you push, some vehicles may have to push it all the way down. Most of them, though, they have you just got to find that bite point in which the the shifter will go into gear. Now, in order to start this, if the vehicle is in gear when it's parked, then regardless of if it's in gear or if it's not, you have to push the clutch pedal in order to start it. If it's in gear and you go to start it, you make sure you got to put it in neutral before you let your foot off the clutch. Push the clutch pedal in, turn the key. If it starts, it's in neutral right now, which means I can do that. If you have it in gear and you just, even if the parking brake is down, see, if I were to try and let off the clutch right now real quick, that happens. So, parking brake is down. It's in neutral. I can let off the clutch. I'm going to turn the air on because it's a bit warm. Hopefully you can still hear me. But this is a point in which you need to practice finding the bite point on your clutch pedal. So you're like, right now I have it pushed in ever so slightly, it won't go into gear. I got to push it down a little bit further, it still won't go in. Right there. It was in neutral. I let off the clutch ever so slightly. I let off the bite point that I had found ever so slightly, and it didn't go into gear. So you gotta, practice finding the bite point and doing this before you take off. Get used to shifting. Get used to using this shifter because that's how you're supposed to drive. So, clutch pedal down, first gear, turn signal on. I don't have any traffic coming, so when I take off, I have to let off the clutch pedal and push in the gas. Off we go. Anytime I want to shift gears, when I get up to about 10 miles an hour, I have to push the clutch pedal in to shift into second gear. In second gear now. Third. Back into neutral because right now I'm within city limits of where I live, and the speed limit up until there's a road up here to about a mile or so that I can get up to fifth gear, but that's not right now, so that's why I'm only going to be in third gear for a few minutes. Now, I've heard of people, I've said this in previous videos, I've heard of people that like to only take off from second gear because they feel like they have to shift so quickly into second gear when they start going. I don't like to do that because there's a reason you have all the gears. Like I've said in previous videos, there's 3-speed, 4-speed, 5-speed, 6-speed, 7-speed. There's a reason you have all those gears. Use them. especially when you're just starting out. I'd been driving a stick shift for several months before I even tried to take off from second gear. Yes, I was able to do it, but I didn't like the way it felt, so I didn't do that no more, except for maybe a few occasions in videos, but I can't exactly remember if I've done that for video or not. I know I've skipped gears for videos, and I do believe I've taken off from second gear once, but I can't recall. There's only one time in my life that I remember ever taking off from second gear and skipping gears, skipping third gear, but I didn't even like doing that. I do apologize, there's some construction going on, and there's a gentleman standing in front of me with a stop sign, so that's why I'm stopping before I can't actually tell if it's construction. I know there's a truck off in the distance that's doing something, and so this gentleman has to stop traffic. I also just realized that I went the wrong direction. I was planning on going taking a different path to get where I was going for this video. Sorry, I was being waved at by a construction worker, and not necessarily waved as in greeting. I was being waved at as, hey, pick what direction you want to go. I'm like, well, I thought he was waving me to a different direction, so I was like, do I need to turn, or do I need to go? Can I go straight? However, I'm slowly getting them back on the path that I was going to take for this video. Mainly, I'm just driving a stick shift for the video because, like I said, this is lesson 14. So it doesn't really matter. I'm still going to go to the same place I was going to go to. It's just going to take me a few extra minutes. I learned this as well when I first started learning how to drive a stick shift. The person that helped me learn, I learned through YouTube, which is another reason why I like making these videos, but I also learned from a friend of mine that sold me a 99 Honda Accord. That's not what I'm driving right now, but anyway, this person told me, they said, you take off in first gear, you can shift into second gear while you're in a turn, because usually when you're taking a turn, you're doing between 10 and 20 miles an hour. It may seem like rather quick for a turn, but when you start learning how to drive a stick shift, you'll understand why you can be in second gear. So that's why whenever I'm taking a turn, I'm usually shifting into second gear. And I know I've covered this before in pretty much all my videos on how to drive a stick shift. If you do it right, you can not only skip gears, but also if you know how to do it after a while, then you can also, there's 3 different ways of slowing down and or stopping in a stick shift. The first and most simple way, in my opinion, is to shift or push the clutch pedal in, put the vehicle in neutral, like that, and then push the brake. The second, a little bit more advanced, is to simultaneously, if the vehicle's in gear, simultaneously push the clutch pedal and the brake pedal in. Or, the second way of doing that, I guess, is to push the clutch pedal in and then hit the brake. Either way, you're going to slow down and or stop. But the third and most advanced, in my opinion, is to downshift. Which I've done that, but most of the time I do not downshift. I will never downshift into first gear because I don't feel it's necessary. However, there's been times when I've been downshifting and I've actually downshifted all the way to second gear. Most of the time, though, I only go down to third gear. It just depends. If the speed limit changes, there's been times when the speed limit has changed where I was at from like 50 to 30, and I will downshift in that particular occasion instead of, hitting the brake and then, shifting into third. I'll shift it, downshift into fourth. To slow down, I'll slow down to at least 40 to 45 miles an hour. And then I will eventually, when I get down to about, I said that weird. If I'm in fifth gear, I'm in fourth gear now for the first time in this video. Now I'm in fifth because the speed limit's 45. In this car, the size of the engine, it's a good idea to only do up to 40 miles an hour in fourth gear and anything above 40 for fifth gear. Now, what I was saying was, when I downshift, if the speed limit goes from like 50 to 30 or 55 to 30 or something like that, what I'll do is, instead of hitting the brakes, I will, or shifting the neutral and hitting the brakes, I'll downshift. It's more convenient. So what I do that is, like right there, I'm in 40 miles an hour right now, shifting into fourth gear. I'm down to 35, shifting to third gear. I don't like to be any higher than 55 miles an hour when I shift into fourth gear. And when I shift into third gear, the highest I want to be is about 45 miles an hour. I said it weird earlier. So when I'm downshifting, that's it. My particular opinion, my guidelines for this, especially for this car, is if I'm doing 55 mile an hour and the speed limit changes, then I will downshift into fourth gear, let the vehicle slow down by itself, and then when I get to doing about 40, usually about 40 to 45, I will downshift into third and the vehicle will slow down some more. It also depends on how quickly I have to slow down and or stop. Because downshiftting, even though I can do it really well, is not my preferred method of slowing down and or stopping. I prefer to put the vehicle in neutral and hit the brake. That's the simplest way in my eyes. But you can do it however you want once you learn how to drive a stick shift, depending on what kind of vehicle you have. Some people have 300. There's a 300 tree. There's a 4-speed. There's just so many different types of manual transmissions out there. It depends on what you have, however you want to do it, or whatever vehicle you learn how to drive a stick shift in. It's up to you how to drive it once you learn how to drive it. These videos are just for teaching purposes. I'll be in fifth gear for a good little while. Because I'm going out I'm not going to stay there, but it's my turnaround point. I'm going to a cemetery where I have a lot of past relatives buried. And that's one of two destinations I could possibly go to. Actually, I'm thinking about going past my great grandparents' old house. Thinking about going past that particular area, but I haven't decided yet. They're rather close together, but I know the cemetery will allow me more drive. If I go to the cemetery, it'll allow me more drive time. Well, roughly. It depends. I guess it doesn't really. I didn't think about it like this. It'll just make me go a longer distance. But the drive time. Sorry, I was mixed up a little bit. What I meant to say was, if I decide to go all the way up to the cemetery, I thought it would give me more drive time. But in all reality, I can choose how long I want to make this video. I can make it until my phone storage gets completely filled up and the video stops by itself, or I can stop it after a half hour or an hour or whatever. For some reason, I was thinking that if I drove out further, it would give me more drive time, which is technically accurate, but I actually decide how long I want to make this video. So I can either go to the cemetery, or I can go to my great grandparents' old house. Either way, though, they're not very far apart. I will say, though, I think that if I were to go to my great grandparents' old house, it will allow me more of an opportunity to not only show you guys how to downshift, but also possibly skip gears. So I think that's actually what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to that house, not into the house, there's nobody living there right now. It's being worked on right now, but not in the house, just to the location. I know I've touched on this before, but when I was saying earlier about how different vehicles had different transmissions, there's 3 on the column, 3 on a tree, whatever you want to call it. There's there's 3-speed, 4-speed, 5-speed, 6-speed, 7-speed. All my vehicles have been 5 speeds. All my vehicles that I've ever driven for personal use have been 4-cylinder, 5-speed vehicles. Well, one time I was driving a Mustang that was a V6 5-speed, but I didn't like that very much. That actually wasn't for personal use. But anyway, I know I've told you about this many times in other videos. I drove a V8 Challenger sometime either earlier this year or last year. I want to say it was last year. A friend of mine is a car salesman, and he wanted to drive it. He wanted to let me drive it because he knows I enjoy the stick shift vehicle. I really like them. I mean, they're becoming, unfortunately, one of the reasons why I'm making these videos, because manual transmission vehicles are becoming a dying breed. And I really don't like that, because I've known how to drive a stick shift for 7 years, over 7 years now. I enjoy it. I love it. I think it's awesome. I think it's entertaining. I think it's just you're more in tune with the vehicle. You and the vehicle are kind of one, if you will. But a lot of people don't like them. My dad, he knows how to drive all types of different manual transmission vehicles, not just like everyday transportation vehicles, but he knows how to drive farm equipment, semis. He drove a stick shift for personal use for like 20 years, and he also drove farm equipment. He drove semis. He drove a whole bunch of different types of things that it required him to shift. He got so tired of it that after 20 years, he decided to give it up. He told me, he's like, I prefer an automatic because I got tired of shifting everything. I've only been driving a stick for a little more than 7 years. Maybe I'll get tired of it eventually, but not yet. Or maybe they'll stop the manufacturing of manual vehicles, and then my options will only be limited to automatic or self-driving is what they're coming out with now. But that's one reason why I'm making these videos, is because it's not only become a dying breed, which is what I don't like, but it's so much more fun when you know how to do this. But what I was saying is, earlier when I started that whole rant, I missed my turn. It's okay. In reality, I can probably go up here, turn around, go to that same place, and then turn around some more. Turn around again. Anyway, depending on what vehicle you have, if you have 3-speed, 4-speed, 5-speed, 6-speed, 7-speed. A friend of mine has a 6-speed. He said he only uses 6-gear for interstate, obviously. Earlier this year, actually, not last year, but earlier this year, I remember I didn't test drive it, but I saw an 07 or 09, excuse me, it was like a 1.6 or 1.7 liter Honda Civic Sport. It was a 6-speed, smaller engine than what I currently have, smaller engine than anything I've ever seen, anything I've ever had myself. Smallest stick shift I ever owned was a 1.9 liter Honda Civic. think it was like a 1.6 or 1.7 liter, but it was a 6-speed. So just because something's small doesn't mean it has less gears or more gears. It all depends. But also, I was saying earlier that at one point, I made a turn here, so shifted in and put it in neutral. Well, it's neutral can do that. I'm slowing down with the brake. Now, I won't have to stop when I exit this turn, so I'm just going to shift into second gear while I'm in this turn. Like so. Speed up to over 20 miles an hour, third gear. Last year, I was test driving, I was saying this earlier, like a 2020 or 2021 Dodge Challenger. I think it was a V8 at that one. I want to say it was a 5-speed. Don't quote me on that. That thing, though, and I've said this before, that thing was too intimidating for me. I was not ready for that kind of vehicle. So my buddy that was letting me test drive it, because he's a car salesman, I looked at him, I said, I drove it for about a mile or two, maybe, and then I said, okay, I'm gonna switch seats with you again. He goes, come on, dude. He's like, just drive us back to the dealership. I was like, no, that ain't gonna happen. So this car is just too much for me. This is too intimidating. He's like, oh, fair enough. Reverse. Now, some people feel the need when you're in reverse in a car like this, or any vehicle that's a stick shift, you feel the need to push on the gas and let off the clutch when you're taking off, just like you do when you're in first gear to take off. But in all reality, I'm letting off the clutch right now. I'm not putting any pressure on the gas, and I'm backing up. First, second, third. The reason I'm not going above third in this area, even though the speed limit is like 40 miles an hour, or 35 or 40, is because there's turn. I mean, it's like 3 turns in like a 100-foot area. It's probably not that small, but I don't want to risk going off the road or sliding or flipping or anything else. So I'm just going to do. And it also, condition of the road. The speed limits are, in terms of legality, yes, the speed limits are what you need to do, but it also, like the winter time and stuff like that, or when it's heavy rain, the condition of the road decides the speed limit. I've done 10 to 15 miles under the speed limit because that's what I was comfortable doing, because this road was like covered in snow. First, second, speed up all the way to 30 mile an hour and right into fourth. That's one way of skipping gears. That's one of my ways that I skip gears. I don't do that very often, but I did it for the video. Here in a little bit, when I go to my great grandparents' old house and turn around, I'll probably go first, second, third, fifth. That's another way you can skip gears. Those are the only 2 ways I prefer to skip gears. For one video I did first, third, fifth. I won't do that anymore. I don't like to do that. And that's like I said, I don't skip gears very often because there's a reason you have all the gears, whether it be a 3, 7, 5, whatever, however many gears you have in your manual vehicle, that you have that many for a reason. Coming up on the road, we're ready to turn. So, first thing that goes on. What am I doing? That's not the road. It's up here a little bit further. So, back in neutral. Go on. First gear, turn, second gear. I've been still in the turn, second gear, third, all the way up to 40 mile an hour, and fifth gear. Those are the only two ways I like to skip gears. And even then, I don't like to do it very often. I don't do it regularly. I only do it for videos, and it depends on the situation. If there's a vehicle, if like I'm turning and there's a vehicle doing 55 mile an hour that's a good enough distance away where I can make the turn, but close a bit, they're doing 55 mile an hour and they're going to close in real quick, I will skip gears as necessary. But I always assess the situation before doing that. Alright, now I'm going to get up to 5th gear and show you guys how to downshift. Fifth gear, I'm doing 50 mile an hour, 4th. Vehicle slows down by itself. 40 mile an hour, 3rd. Once again, slowing down by itself. And I will shift into 2nd just for the video. 30 miles an hour, 2nd gear. Third, 4th. I won't get it back up to 5th. The stop sign's right here. Shift into neutral. Use the brake. Go. You may be curious as to what the RPMs might be at whenever I'm shifting. My personal opinion, I shift between 2,000 and 3,000. Obviously, those RPMs are higher whenever you skip gears like I did twice a little bit ago. But when I went from 2nd to 4th to 5th, and when I went from 3rd to 5th, the RPMs were higher. But typically, when you're not skipping gears and you're just driving it, using the gears like you should be, the RPMs I like to shift between 2,000 and 3,000. That's my personal opinion. When you learn how to drive it, if you take the time to learn how to drive a stick shift, you'll understand why. But obviously, in 5th gear, when this is a 5-speed 2.3 liter engine, 4-cylinder. In 5th gear right now, I'll be honest, I'm doing 60 miles an hour and between 58 and 60, and the RPMs are a little above. They're like 2750 right now, which ordinarily you could shift, but I'm already in 5th gear. If I'm on the interstate in 5th gear and I'm doing 70 mile an hour, the RPMs are above 3,000. Well, I can't shift any higher than 5th gear because this is a 5-speed. That's why I said there's certain vehicles that, a friend of mine has a vehicle that is a 6-speed, and he uses his 6-speed on the interstate because he has it. I can only go up to 5th gear. There's the 3-speed. I've never driven a 3-speed, but I've been told that in those old 3-speed manual transmissions, you can do up to like 30 miles an hour in 1st gear. It all depends. I mean, every vehicle is different. I had a 99 Honda Accord. That was my first ever 6-shift vehicle. It was a 2.3 liter 4-cylinder 5-speed, and the RPMs and the speeds and all the gear ratios and everything were identical to the way this car is. This is an 07 Mazda 6, but it's a 2.3 liter 4-cylinder. That Honda Civic that I had, it was an 02 Honda Civic. It was a 4-cylinder and it was a 5-speed, but it was only a 1.9 liter engine. So it was, by the time I was at 40 miles an hour, I was already in 5th gear in that, because it was a slightly smaller engine. The big V8 Challenger that I test drove with my buddy, I'm pretty sure I was only in like 4th gear when I was doing like 50 mile an hour. I can't remember though. That's, like I said, that car was too intimidating for me to drive. How long is this video anyway? Can't tell. I was gonna say, I don't know how long this video will last. There's been times I've tried to make longer videos, and unfortunately my storage space cuts out, so the video stops before I stop it. So I don't know how long this video will go. I don't know how long this video will be. And I wanted to give everyone a heads up that if the video stops at an awkward time, you'll know why, because my storage space on my phone cut out. However, a few weeks ago, I actually put a bigger memory card in my phone so that because my channel was getting bigger, and I thought I'm going to have to start making longer videos and better videos, so I'm going to need more storage space. So that may not happen. I don't know. A few days ago, I made a nearly half-hour long video of how to drive a stick shift, and that was still on my phone when I made it about a 12-minute long video on at Highsmith Guns doing some range time. I was actually going to try and combine both those videos, but unfortunately my phone, like when I went to take it off the mount that it's on right now in my car, the camera stopped. But that's okay. That happens, you know, it is what it is. But I just wanted to give everyone a heads up. If the video stops at an awkward time, I apologize in advance, but hopefully that doesn't happen. Right now I'm driving back to those who have subscribed to my channel and watching my content. You see a lot of animal videos, specifically dog videos. Those are my parents' dogs. Technically speaking, one of them is my niece's dog, and two of the labs my parents got for my niece, but they all live in my parents' house, and that's where I do that content. I get videos of them and doing funny things and post them. Well, that's where I'm heading back to right now, because I let the dogs out a couple times a day while my parents are both working. That's where I'm heading to now. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get there, and I don't know how long this video is at the current moment, because I'm driving. So I'm not looking at my phone. I'm just recording everything. Neutral. Like I said, when it's in neutral, you do this. But see, my clutch pedal's not in, and I can't go into any gear. Well, I pushed a little bit hard on the fifth and almost went into that, but you don't want to. I'm not going to do that no more. I think the reason it almost went into fifth because I was doing over 40 miles an hour. I didn't downshift because, as I said, I prefer to just go the most basic way and put the vehicle in neutral and hit the brake when it's time. Even though it is, sometimes it is more fun to downshift. In all reality, part of the reason I like driving a stick shift and knowing how to drive a stick shift is not only because it's just a good, it's good to know in case something does happen and like I'm stuck out in the middle of nowhere and my only mode of transportation is a stick. It's good to know how to drive a stick. But also, I like knowing how to drive a stick shift because in the wintertime, I don't know how many times, wintertime is my most, more often than not in the wintertime when there's ice and snow on the road, I will downshift instead of hitting my brakes. And it's a lot more fun. It's a lot easier to downshift, a lot more convenient to downshift in the wintertime when the road's that bad because the vehicle slows down by itself. instead of you hitting the brake, because if you hit the brake, you go all there, you go all like that. But that's why I like knowing how to drive a stick and driving a stick, especially in the colder months. But and I said but because I was trying to think, but I lost my train of thought. In reality, the most common way I like to slow down and or stop is to put the vehicle neutral and hit the brake. Yes, I did downshift there, but I'm making a YouTube video, so that's why I downshifted. Vehicle's in neutral now. I'm hitting the brake. And this is something I do because I've been driving a stick long enough to do this. While I'm coming to a stop, I will push the clutch pedal in and put the vehicle in first gear. Especially if I can tell that there's not going to be any traffic at like a 4 or 5 way stop or whatever, 3 way, you know. If there's multiple people that are going to stop, then it just depends. Once you get used to driving a stick, it'll be like second nature. You won't even be realizing that you'll shift without even trying. There's been times ever since when I first learned how to drive a stick, I was just like watching everything. I was watching the RPMs, watching the speed, worrying if I was going to be able to shift in time, worrying if I was going to do this or do that. But after a while, it becomes second nature, and you just when you learn how to drive a stick shift, the purpose of knowing how to shift, you're supposed to when you shift, there's not supposed to be any shift shock. If you're doing it right, you're driving it right, there's not supposed to be any shift shock. The first person that told me that was the person that sold me the 99 Honda Accord that I had. Unfortunately, the reason that I lost that vehicle is because I rear-ended a Dodge Ram. Yeah, when a 99 Honda Accord against a Dodge Ram, the Honda lost very badly. My car was totaled, his bumper was dented. That's it. His bumper was dented. Now I honestly shift without even looking at the RPMs. I just know after a while you get used to knowing when you're supposed to shift. That's what I was trying to say earlier. Eventually it becomes so second nature you don't even pay attention to it anymore. You know when you're supposed to shift. Or it's not that you don't pay attention to it. I said that weird. It's just that you know because you paid enough attention long enough to where it's second nature. You just do it without thinking. Reason to put the vehicle in neutral, I like to do this. I'm going across the railroad track right now. I like to put the vehicle in neutral when I'm going across the railroad track. That's just me. You can do it however you want. Now I'm putting it in neutral because I'm coming to a stop because it's a red light. But I'm almost to my destination. So, to cap this video off, thank you to everyone that has subscribed to my channel. I know I've cleared 600 subscribers last time I checked. Excuse me. So thank you to everyone that has subscribed to my channel, watching my content. You're the reason I do these videos. I'm just trying to get my channel to grow more and more and more as time goes on. I'm trying to stay consistent, trying to post as much as possible, trying to do videos that'll bring in more and more subscribers. So I hope everyone enjoyed this. I hope it was educational. Stay safe. Have a good rest of your week, but I know I'll talk to everyone very, very soon. Parking. There's some people that only like to park. There are multiple ways of parking this type of vehicle. The first and most common, parking brake up. I'm at a angle like this. Front of the car's up, back of the car's down. So when I turn the vehicle off, I will do this. When I turn the vehicle off, put it in gear like that. Even though the parking brake's up, I still put it in gear like that. If I'm on a flat surface, I will still put the parking brake up and put the vehicle in gear. If you're on a angle where the front of the car is down and the back of the car is up, then it's best to put the parking brake up and put the vehicle in reverse instead. But some people, I don't do this and I won't do this. Some people don't particularly care to use the parking brake. They prefer to use the transmission as a kickstand. Excuse me. And they'll only put the vehicle in first or reverse. I don't do that. That's my personal opinion. I do not do that. That's how I park. Even if I'm on a flat surface, this is how I park. But you can do it however you want. Sorry, I know I kind of pointed it up my nose for a second because I'm wearing these. You can do it however you want to park, but that's how I park. Have a good one, everyone. Thanks again.